Hi, this is Shep Altschuler, publisher of TimeSharing Today. Welcome to this broadcast of TimeSharing Today Radio, featuring news and views of owners and industry professionals. Today we are being joined by Paul Goodrich, Regional Vice President of SPM Resorts, a professional timeshare property management company based in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We will be discussing the importance of strategic planning for resort refurbishment and reconstruction projects, especially for older legacy resorts. Paul will also discuss the financial and marketing benefits that resorts and their owners can realize by making their properties more appealing to new and younger buyers. We're pleased to have him on our program. Hi, Paul. Welcome to the broadcast.
Well, thank you, Shep. Good morning. Appreciate being here today.
Yes, we appreciate your participating. Tell our listeners about your background in the industry and your position at SPM Resorts.
All right. Well, I started in the industry back in the 80s, more in the sales side, working in-house sales, and got to work a lot with owners and see a lot with what was going on with the homeowners associations. So in the mid-90s, when given an opportunity, I shifted over to SPM Resorts, where I helped out in sales and helped out with our board of directors and a lot with our homeowners. That's progressed through the years to the point now I'm vice president of operations, or a regional vice president of operations, over a few of the resorts in some of our harder to get to areas, amazingly enough. I have Cape Cod, Virginia, and the Virgin Islands.
So you do move around a little bit.
Yeah.
How long has SPM been in business?
We've been in business since '79, and so we just celebrated our 30 years a few years ago, and have grown a little bit every year.
So you're quite familiar with the legacy resorts that we've been covering quite a bit in Timesharing Today. And with that in mind, what services does SPM provide and to whom?
Well, primarily, amazingly enough, probably many of the legacy resorts are SPM's prime clients. After a developer has done what it needs to do in the program, a lot of times management is now needed to take care of the day-to-day operations of the resorts. So they would call our company, and we can come on in and take care of their financials, maintenance, housekeeping, check-in, check-out, reporting to the boards, insurance. I mean, the list is very long. But we basically take that weight off the board of directors, make sure it gets done, and provide the reporting and accountability to them.
And how many resorts does SPM provide services for?
Right now we have 36 resorts, and again, from Cape Cod down to the Virgin Islands, and now as far west as Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Today, we want to explore the challenges, the opportunities that older legacy resorts are addressing to upgrade their properties, to make them more appealing to new and younger buyers. Why is it important that owners, their HOAs, and resort managers focus on upgrades and reconstruction?
Well, I think the younger people, and in fact, quite frankly, even some of our established owners that have been there for a while, they get tired of worn, torn, faded, rusty, etc. They want to see something new and shiny. Many people want it to be better than their home, especially the kids. The younger people are used to more electronic gizmos in their units, internet connectivity, and all these things are pluses with a more modernized project.
SPM has been keenly aware of the need for reconstruction projects. From your research, what is it that the younger generation is looking for?
Well, I think part of it is again the modern conveniences, the flat screen TVs, the connectivity to the internet. I'm seeing a lot of them want easy access to a pretty wide variety of amenities. They don't want to just sit on the pool deck all day long sunning. They want to get out and do a few things. We get a lot of compliments or comfort on the updated decor in the units, getting a more modern look, having designers that have studied this and have a comfort level working with younger families in here, helping us with the overall look of the resort. I think they want the same thing many owners want. They want that cleanliness. They want the space for their families, but I think it seems I hear from a lot of the young people a desire for the amenities, that you have a good activities program, that you have things for them to do, places to recommend for them to go, etc.
I know that a lot of legacy resorts, they're not the major theme park resorts with water slides and all sorts of extraneous activities, but there is a certain appeal that a legacy resort can have in terms of quality time with family, great destinations. How does that translate into your planning for, attracting new buyers?
Well, very much, and a great example is one of the resorts we're working with that, basically it's just a resort. It doesn't have all the fancy things, but we've gone in and made relationships with a nearby lake for swimming, a ski resort, a golf course, local businesses, but at the same time we focused on making the resort very comfortable. We've put in play areas for the children. We're in the process of building some cookout areas. So, you can take something that wasn't initially set up to be anything more than just a nice unit and turn it into a little bit more, and sometimes very inexpensively. These cookout areas are not that costly.
And those are translating into results for these resorts that followed their reconstruction plan. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. If the people are happy and they're, if they want to go cook out somewhere, they can go out and they got nice picnic tables, a little bit of shade, and the cookout stuff's there, and we make it easy for them. They'll talk it up. They'll come back. They'll start valuing it as a getaway they want to take every year, and that translates into maintenance fee paying owners.
Now, it's one thing to have an appealing resort, but how does the younger generation find these legacy resorts?
We used to just slap the little ad in the paper, and that sort of fell out all over the place. SPM, for example, has hired a director of communications. She's now actually been promoted to a vice president level in the company, and she and two or three other people concentrate on getting our name out there using all the new social media sites. Certainly Facebook is number one, but there's the Twitter, Pinterest, and I don't even know all the names. Thank God she's here doing it, but we get constant promotional things on these sites showing what's going on the different properties, with hopes to turn people's heads towards them.
Are people finding you through, these online services organically? They may go to a TripAdvisor organically, and then they're contacting you, so you don't really have to devote advertising or promotional dollars towards some of these online resources?
Oh, absolutely. And right out of the bat, I was thinking of Expedia, Booking.com, etc., where we get a lot of people do reservations through those systems, and if we wow them a little while they're there, they come back again later, and that's pay as it goes, because you pay a little commission, but you get rental to pay them out of, so it's a very inexpensive. And then you tie it into our marketing efforts on Facebook and other things. People can actually research us a little before they click buy. In fact, I've learned recently most people don't buy on their first time on the line. They do a little research, and so keeping as much on the internet as we can in a positive sense, I think has grown our occupancy well over the last few years. Give
us just one or two examples of a resort that's had good success with their online approach.
Well, I'll tell you right now, one I can think of immediately is Ocean Club on Smugglers Beach, and we finished a refurbishment there, and we advertised the results of the refurbishment almost exclusively. Now, this was just two or three of us that didn't know really what we were doing, but we got out on Facebook and really got it out. We saw our Facebook followers go almost triple from what they were when we started. Many of them were not owners. Now you see people post on their dailies about the trip and about things going on, and so we can go out and put things on there. We'll put a special on there and can actually track those, because people will come back to us and say, hey, I just saw your special on Facebook. Can I get in on it? So we've seen some results there. We also had another resort up in the Highlands. We did 1 week on our owner vacation rental program, generated almost $6,000 just by getting on there and getting the word out, what we had at the resort and what they could take advantage of. I mean, that was just an immediate jump from previous rentals.
Now, you've made several presentations at meetings of the Timeshare Board Members Association about strategic planning. How do resorts go about creating a refurbishment plan? That's
ongoing, Shep. It never stops. You have to be thinking, what's the condition? What's the look of your resort? What's the condition of your resort? And how long what you have will last? And then start planning to address those needs 2, 3, hopefully even 5 and 6 years in advance. Unfortunately, I think most of us start when it's you sit on the couch and your tail hits the floor because the couch is so worn out, and yet it has to be an ongoing, constantly, we're going to tackle certain projects or the whole refurb at such and such year, and you start saving for it, and the massive different pieces of bidding and work you need to do to get yourself there. But it's got to be, yearly we do it. We take a hard look at it yearly as part of every resort's budget process, where we really look at what's worn, torn, and broken at a property, and try and address as much as we can on a yearly basis, with the big things every 5 or 6 years.
I've heard comments from board members and resort managers at some of the smaller resorts that they like to cherry pick their refurbishments as may be needed. If a couch looks good in one unit and bad in another unit, they'll just replace a couch there. They may have some outdated appliances, but if they're functioning, that they'll just keep them going because they're functioning, with the objective of keeping maintenance fees as low as possible. Now, if a resort establishes a solid strategic plan, how can they eliminate this tendency towards cherry picking?
Well, I think the plan by itself eliminates the cherry picking, because you're going to say, hey, at year 5 we're going to replace all the couches, or we're going to do this. And I can say that I've seen resorts have to cherry pick, and we've certainly had a couple of our resorts go through that because they had no money and making an assessment didn't make sense at that particular time. But if you are cherry picking because all you want to do is keep all your fees low, I think what you're going to end up doing in the long run is hurt everybody, because you have to jerk the fees way up or have a large assessment when that stuff gets just too overwhelming. So again, we would recommend raising your fees, reserving funds, and starting to plan out. And again, if it's cherry picking because you've done everything you can and just don't have money in the bank, then that's probably acceptable. But I think it's always better to say, hey, we're going to go 3 more years with these couches, barring something just falling apart, but we're going to save money every year so we can buy them all. And then, too, you get the consistency of the product and look throughout the whole resort.
A lot of these strategies rely upon establishing reserves and funding it through reserves, maybe special assessments. Do resorts, legacy resorts in particular, ever turn to external financing? Is that an acceptable practice to borrow money in order to implement a reconstruction project?
Yeah, absolutely. For that reason, we would never recommend taking a loan to pay operating expense at all. You need to cover that in your budget. But for reserve programs, we do have a couple resorts that basically borrow, do their refurb every 5 years, and then out of reserves pay their refurb off. They got a little behind the curve, and now this seems to work, and I don't see any problems with that at all, just so long as you have a very short-term plan to pay it down. And many of the banks we're working with today look at having these paid in 2 or 3 years, but they do give a great option for cash flow so that you can tackle everything all at one time.
Now, through planning, does planning help avoid sticker shock? By that I mean, we hear complaints a lot that some owners feel they see a dramatic rise in maintenance fees, holding aside special assessment. Can these things be planned so that there's not a major bump up in maintenance fees, that it could be handled within a normal annual maintenance fee increase?
Depends on where you're at, Shep. If the resort's in pretty bad condition, you may have that sticker shock almost no matter what you do, unless there's just something in the maintenance fees that's bleeding out funds you can stop. I would think, though, like one resort, to avoid the sticker shock, and even though it ended up being a large amount, we were telling the people 3 to 4 years before the date of the assessment that the assessment was coming. We started slight increases in the maintenance fees to start reserving greater and reduce the assessment, but we still had to do a pretty healthy assessment, but we helped people get ready for it. We were able to do it in a way, using financing, by the way, where they could pay it out over 3 years, even though the project was in 1 year. But, looking back, had we done 10 years ago started reserving like we started reserving in the last 3 or 4 years, we wouldn't have had to do the assessment at all.
Now, tell us about a few refurbishment success stories. What was the before and after? What make these resorts though they're legacy resorts, really good candidates for the long term in timesharing.
I'll take two that I can think of right off the top of my head without, and SPM does have other stories we can tell, but these two I can tell the quickest and easiest. First is Ocean Club on Smuggler's Beach in Cape Cod. It was in reasonable condition, not great, not poor. We've kept it clean, kept it up. The developer, before the boards really took over, refused to put anything into reserves. So when we started getting them into the reserve thing, we might put $150,000 in, for example, and spend $150,000 that year because we were just so far behind the curve. We took 4 years and planned a major refurbishment project. Ended up being about a $1,500, give or take a couple pennies, assessment per person. And we allowed the owners to pay it over 3 years. We gave them 2 and 3 years notice. We were building up to that. I think on the success side, when we got done, the amount we budgeted to collect from the assessment was collected, which was really exciting because we ended up, getting all our bills paid. We paid off the bank loan early that we had used to cash flow our first year. And in that case, we actually opened the walls and found damage and in some cases mold, and ended up having to take an extra step, totally gut the resort, and then bring it up to current building code. They tell us at the town we're one of the safest resorts on the Cape right now, but at the completion, we modernized all our Wi-Fi systems. Example for the owners, you can get in there now. We have enough bandwidth and enough modules that this 2 or 3 people can use them in units, and these ones that draw down your bandwidth are all working very well now. Our rentals have gone up. We looked at 3 years from about $120 a year up to $220, $230 a year, and that's income from the rentals, not the gross number. But the biggest thing, Shep, at the end, our operating costs have gone down so much because the resort's in good shape that we've saved enough money that we're not seeing increases in your maintenance fees, and instead we're increasing the amount of money going into reserves. So we're gearing up for the next refurb, which we expect will be in about 3 years, without having to do a special assessment next time. We're saving the money and we're building that up. And that's one that we think is made itself, the building's very modernized, it's very safe, some structural things have been fixed, and that'll be good for years to come, and a great homeowners association for the owners, and a fantastic rental getaway for people who like coming down from the Boston area and staying at our resort. The other one would be the Virgin Islands, and it also was facing years and years and years of deferred maintenance. Things were not getting done, and in their case, they actually received funds from a different fashion and were able to start attacking the resort without special assessing the owners or coming at the owners for any huge amounts of funds. But the flip side is by the time they've gotten done, we now have reserve counts for all the associations. We're contributing to reserves every year, and we have a relatively new in appearance property throughout the whole thing. But what's fun is we've also added 1,887 photoelectric panels, so we're basically doing 1/3 of our electricity on solar. We're the biggest privately held plant, as far as I know, in the Caribbean to date, and will be for a while longer. And so now, once we've paid off our investment in the cells, which will be in about 4 to 5 years, we will have that savings long into the future that can keep being reinvested into the property.
Yeah, you had mentioned that they'd used some alternate source for financing. Could you give any details on that?
Well, what we did there is we actually found a company, or we didn't actually, our vendor found a company that would buy the panels and get all the benefits from the government, all the tax benefits, and then we lease from that entity, and they discounted our purchase price based on some of the savings. So we didn't get 100% of the savings, but we got some of the savings. And then, then we're leasing the panels for, I believe, 55 months, and then we pay them $1, and we own the whole system.
Oh, very good. We know from TimeSharing Today that a lot of owners are very passive. They're not really tracking what's going on with the governance at their resort, and in essence, they want to show up, have a carefree vacation, pay their maintenance fees, and just not be involved. And we're stressing the importance now of really following what's going on at the resort. And the owners do have a responsibility. But maybe you can talk a little bit about how HOAs can encourage the support of their owners. In particular, you've seen an uptick in alternate revenue generation through rentals and maybe other programs that you have. How significant is that, and how do the HOAs go about really keeping them informed in details and having an outreach program to their owners so that there's no a shock when they do get the maintenance fee bill, but they're really engaged in the progress. They're following it through a refurbishment plan from beginning to end.
Sure. Well, Shep, we still need the owners to read what's sent them, and if they do that, that'll be the first start. But one of the things that I've wanted to do is more mini updates via the email blasts and Facebook so that they're getting a sense of what's going on and what they need to know, but we're giving it to them in smaller, digestible chunks. I just don't think, and I think it's some of our newer generation, and I think even some of us boomers don't want to sit down and read these long documents. If we can have something, especially at my age, a little bit better, bigger print, a little bit easier to read, something that gives us what we need to know but gives it to us in bits and pieces, we might pick up more that will make us a more responsible owner when we go to the voting period. The second area is SPM, for one thing, has now made minutes and financials and audits. All that stuff's available to the owners in the owners section of our websites. We encourage owners to pick it up. If they're at the resort and they don't do the electronic stuff, we have a minutes book they can come read when they're sitting at the resort. They can attend at all our properties. We have an owners meeting once a week that's designed just to update them on things, and we encourage owners to attend that because the reality is while we as management answers to the board, we work for each owner, and we want the owners to know what is happening at their property, because we found the more informed they are, the more supportive and helpful they are.
Now, can you give me one example, without necessarily naming the resort, where they had a lower rental revenue prior to a refurbishment plan, and then there was an uptick in rental revenues, which is becoming increasingly important to resorts to generate these alternate sources of revenue? So is there one example that you could give in terms of dollars and cents?
Well, there's the one I mentioned where we saw the resort go from about $120,000 to $220,000, and again, that's their income. You've got private owners renting as well, so the rentals have gone up there significantly. I've just thought of another resort where we got in and just started cleaning and doing basic maintenance. Now, we haven't done the full refurb yet, but put in Wi-Fi, for example, and done some little things, and we've seen the rental go from a resort that was lucky to see $2,000 or $3,000 a month to right now is averaging $12,000 or $13,000 a month, and that's a gross rental. So it's not great yet, but from where it started, it's quadrupled in just a year and a half. Just starting to address these maintenance issues and this refurbishment issues. I have to double check the numbers, but the Caribbean resort's gone up significantly. Well, every last 3 or 4 years, we've seen quite an increase since the refurbishment. So I think when owners go there and guests go there and they like it, they come back. And so it's a two-part thing. So that owner that says this year I don't want to come can rent it out now because we've made it a place people want to come. But we also see usage go up where the owners start coming back.
That's a desired result of any refurbishment plan, is in usage and in revenues. Now, if any of our listeners would like to get in touch with you and SPM, how can they go about doing that?
Well, you've got myself as P. Goodrich, like the tire, at SPMResorts.com. Simple as that. And we also have our Hatton Gravely, who I think you know personally, and we mentioned her earlier in the call. She's HGRAVELY at SPMResorts.com, but you can also go to our SPMResorts.com website, and there is buttons that they can click to contact us.
Right. We always say that TimeSharing Today is a good resource. SPM has been a long-time advertiser in TimeSharing Today and a big supporter of the Timeshare Board Members Association. Well, thank you.
And we got. I was going to say, let me get this in, Shep. We got a good ad in there so people can find it right away, and it has both phone numbers and emails and websites in there as well. So we really appreciate what TimeSharing Today has done for us.
Well, thank you, and appreciate your joining us today. And this concludes this broadcast of TimeSharing Today Radio. You know, your views, experiences, and opinions are very important. And if you'd like to comment on today's broadcast or have a suggestion for a future broadcast, please email staff